The piece of paper argument. I hear this argument frequently, and um, Free Talk Live, they talk a little bit about some bureaucrat wrote on a piece of paper a dictum or a law that people would then enforce. And here's my thoughts on this. You have your politicians don't have respect for that legitimacy, but any non-politician has respect for that piece of paper, and that respect is even more so with police and courts because that's the gist of their job. Um, you have George W. Bush, and the interesting thing is I don't think that there's an audio clip for this. I think this is more of a rumor, but if anyone has some hard evidence of him saying this, I'd like to see or hear it. George W. Bush saying the Constitution is just a goddamn piece of paper. Well, I mean, that's great. That means that, like, your No Child Left Behind Act and your Patriot Act are also just goddamn pieces of paper. And George Bush isn't a philosopher. That's, I mean, definitely obvious. But, I mean, then that raises the question of, the piece of paper argument. And there's people that say that this has no legitimacy, and I'll say it's not the fact that it's a piece of paper means that it has no legitimacy, because insurance contracts are pieces of paper, and you're contracting the right to do something or a waiver and you sign it. That's a piece of paper, and there's ways to symbolize something that you would have a right in a moment and not have it, or you would revoke it or give it to a third party, and you can symbolize that with a piece of paper. I think the main thing to understand is that you personally sign that contract, or if you're under 18, your parents sign that contract with on your behest. And that's one thing that I think is really important, is that we note that because without pieces of paper you can't do business, you can't go around, you can't work in the real world without pieces of paper. The big thing is personally signing a contract and voluntarily agreeing to it, and it's a matter of there's an actual other party, not just Congress, these guys that sit in a chair, or the president. Well, it doesn't actually designate a person, it's just this figure of congressmen, and whoever happens to fit in that category at that specific time in history has that congressman title, so that applies to him or her. So those are my thoughts on the piece of paper argument. It's mostly about the voluntary agreeing, not the signing. So feel free to leave a comment.